Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome back to OOTP 17 for our Vancouver Canadians expansion franchise. And as I said last episode, I was going to tack on this international free agent period to the next episode or the end of that episode. I already posted that episode, so this is going to be the first part of this next episode that we're going to be doing right now, where we'll be wrapping up the season. And this is probably going to be the last episode on OOTP 17. OOTP 18 comes out very soon, and I will be shifting this save over to that game for the playoffs, so we'll probably be posting a lot of that game when it comes out, along with MLB The Show, because there's not really anything that I was interested in playing right now. It's kind of a part of the reason why I wasn't posting as much for the longest time. So this is the update on the international free agent period. We have 3 guys signed already, and we are currently negotiating with one other person, and there's a little bit of a story to that one, so we'll get to that one last. But Goncalves Dorado, a Venezuelan, is going to be signing with us. He is 16 years old, and this is also going to be the last international free agent period under the old rules. So I'll have to look more into that when we do next year, the next off season of this, because it'll be maybe under the next CBA. I don't know how year-to-year transfers work in OOTP, but if we can integrate those new CBA rules, I definitely want to do that, because the draft pick stuff is going to be interesting as well. So, Goncalves Dorado, pretty decent power hitter, and good eye discipline. That's really what I liked about him. He's an underdeveloped outfielder, and I believe his outfield ratings are better than his infield ratings. Yeah, definitely that is the case. Hopefully he can improve those outfield ratings if we continue to play him in the outfield. And he's actually 25 catcher rating as well. But, you know, this guy's got really good power ratings, and if his gap power doesn't develop, I'm fine with that, because he has high home run power, which is probably more valuable anyway. And the fact that his eye discipline has such a high potential is really going to help him out a lot. And his base running is really good too. So 4-star prospect. I believe OSA doesn't really like him all that much. Yeah, they think he's a 3-star guy with a 75 avoid K rating. That's ridiculous, but I don't know. I guess they think he's not going to pan out defensively or something. I have no idea. So Ruben Gonzalez is our next guy. He is from the Dominican Republic, and he's a 3.5-star pitcher. But the thing I really like about him is that he has 3 pretty good pitches, but he has 70 control and 80 stamina. And I don't know what I just clicked. Wait. Right-clicking takes you back. Does left-clicking take you forward? No. Okay. I'll have to remember that in the future. So he's not going to have the greatest stuff. He has 3 average, above average kind of pitches, like 55, 2 55s and a 65. That's going to be a really good pitch. And a 4th pitch, which will probably end up eliminating a 45 knuckle curve. And I'm probably going to do that a lot more going forward, because of the freedom that this game allows you to customize with, where you can cut pitches out from guys. And with all the changes that guys are making now, like where they're cutting pitches, they're using certain pitches less than others, I hope they do a little bit more with pitch mixing, or if there is a way, I hope I find it. And I'll probably be cutting out these guys' pitches going forward if they're not going to develop into much. Just kind of throw an interesting wrinkle into this series. And so this guy, I think this guy's going to be really good, even if he doesn't ever develop into a guy with like nasty stuff. He's got great stamina, really good at holding runners, and he's got great control, and those guys are always very valuable. Our position player, another position player we signed is Brando Baduzzi, and I believe we signed him for relatively cheap. I don't know, does it say? Yeah, we gave him a $265,000 bonus. He only demanded like a $60,000 bonus, but a thing that I've noticed with this game is if you offer guys a ton of money, they usually take it. Like if you offer them a ton of money and they don't want it, they usually take it, or they're asking for like way less. And this guy, there's a couple of kind of red flags with this guy. One is that he's got no potential for his home run power and eye discipline, so that's a little concerning. But he has such great contact and gap power, and his ability to avoid strikeouts is amazing. And also, he's a great base runner and a great defensive outfielder. And we'll see. Does he have any ratings in the infield? He's a great defensive infielder too. He's actually better on the infield. It looks like he'd be a really good third baseman prospect for us. Oh, those were his infield ratings. He's gonna be a really good outfield too, though. I really like those outfield ratings. His error isn't as good, but the other two ratings are just as good. We might move him to the outfield. We'll see how it breaks down within our organization. And he actually has pitching ratings as well, which is hilarious. But yeah, he has 3 ratings that could be amazing. He really gives like a lot of offers a lot of potential in a lot of different areas. Even if his eye discipline doesn't pan out and he only ends up being like an average hitter, like a good hitter, but he can't get on base, he's gonna avoid strikeouts and he's gonna put the ball in play a lot. So I really like that. The OSA really doesn't like him very much. They think he's going to make good contact and gap power, but these 2 ratings are just not going to develop at all. And then our last... So I really like that signing. Our last guy is Omar Perez. And we are going to be jacking up the bidding for this guy. We're going to be using pretty much all the money we have left because this guy's a 5-star prospect. And he is the best hitter prospect I've ever seen in this game. He's only 16 years old. And he's going to take a while to develop all these hitting traits, but look at this. 70 contact, 80 gap power, 80 home run power, 70 discipline, and 60 avoid Ks. And obviously defensively, he's not very much. He looks like he's going to be, I don't know if you can see, like, his measurables. He's 6'7", 210, a bigger guy. Obviously not going to be a, like, speed demon on the base paths, but if this guy pans out to even, like, 60, even if he pans out to like half of these projected ratings, if he's like 60, 65, 60, 60, and 45 on all these ratings, that's still an above average hitter. So this guy's floor even is really high, and he's not very versatile, obviously. He is just a hitter. He would probably take over that DH spot of Wilmer Flores, currently occupies on our team. But this is like the best prospect I've ever seen, and look at who we are competing against. The Montreal Expos, a team that continues to struggle in their 4th year of existence. I believe this is year 4. Yeah, 4th year of existence as a new franchise. A team that has not really found much success, is opposed to our team that is leading their division, probably favored to win the division going forward, and are headed for a 2nd consecutive winning season. Where's the history? Yeah. 2nd consecutive winning season. More than likely going to be making the playoffs again. With an even lower payroll than last season, which is incredible. I didn't even know that. But, of course, of all the teams, that would be the one that we are going to be contending against. So, I will give you guys an update as to whether or not we sign Omar Perez in just a moment. But we are going to be in quite the bidding war with our Canadian counterparts. So, let's see if we can get him. All it took was $15 million, but Omar Perez will be joining the Vancouver Canadians as he turns down the Montreal Expos, and the Expos continue once again to suffer another terrible fate as they miss out on this prospect to their Canadian counterpart once again, as Vancouver just continues to be the more successful of the 2 franchises that both came back to the MLB for the 2016 season. Just a rough experience for actually the Expos. Not even a rough experience for the Canadians. We'll see if they can somehow find a way to surpass Vancouver at some point, but right now it's not looking very good. And also during the last episode I said that I was not going to be making any more trades, but after the return of Masashi Iwakuma from the DL, we had to make a roster spot for him. And so, as I said, we were going to get rid of Cole Hamels because if you take a look at our other pitchers, Taijuan Walker's been playing amazing. So has Trevor Bauer's been really good. Chris Archer's been pretty good since he came over. And Lucas Giolito's been really good this year as well. So we have 4 spots in our rotation, and Cole Hamels was the one that was left over. So we waive and DFA'd Cole Hamels. These were his 4 starts for us. As you can see, the real quality that we were getting out of him. Let's just take a look at his split stats as let's see right here. Pitching splits. As a starter, he had a 9.87 ERA in 17 innings. So it was time to move on from Cole Hamels, and he refused to be demoted to the minors, so we had to make a trade. And this is a trade that I actually like as a play for the future as well. Mike Foltynewicz is offered to us from Tampa Bay. Now, this trade really hinges on his ability to be optioned to the minors. He has one option to the minors left, and he's been a pretty good reliever this year. Unfortunately, we don't have a spot for him currently, and I'm really looking for him to be a starter going forward, starting next season, after the likely departure of Chris Archer and the definite departure of Hisashi Iwakuma. I doubt Hisashi Iwakuma is going to play beyond the season. So I think Mike Foltynewicz is a good play for the future. He is ARB eligible, so he's potentially going to be a little costly. We can always non-tender him if we have to, but I like this trade. This is the best trade that we got. It was the only trade for any long-term piece. And as much as I like Foltynewicz, I think he could be pretty good. He is going to spend time in the minors. If somebody gets hurt, he will be the first guy that I call up. But that is going to do it for the trading season, hopefully. So let's cut out and get on with the season. All right, the magic number is 3. 3 more wins, 3 Texas losses, or a combination of those two events, wins the Vancouver Canadians their first AL West title in the history of their franchise. I believe there's about 10 games left this season. Well, I did my math wrong. There's like 13 games left this season. Yeah, there's 13 games left. After which we will be recapping what has happened in the entire season, and I'll show you guys some cool stuff from the second half, where we ranked in the league and things of that nature. And before we start, cover the injury news from this team. I clicked the wrong button, but currently Joey Ricard and Albert Almora are on the disabled list. Every single one of our outfielders, all 4 of our outfielders at the start of the season, has been on the DL with a 5-week injury at some point this season. Braxton Davidson was on the DL recently. He just came off of the DL actually a few days ago, and he's come back and he's struggled a little bit. Has not quite been the same since he's come back from the DL. Been a little rough. He's like a 2 for 20 stretch he's on right now. Not very good, but hopefully he can turn it around. He's been excellent all season after all. He was down for 5 weeks. Then Trace Thompson got hurt for 5 weeks. He's come back and also struggled slightly. I think our whole team's just been not as good recently for whatever reason, but still a great year out of Trace Thompson overall. Joey Ricard was playing in the place of those guys, and then he tore his meniscus just recently, and he was on pace for an excellent season, even though he'd only played a very little bit. I was really, really happy because it was finally the breakout for Joey Ricard that we've been waiting for years. He's just never been very good, as you can see from his past seasons of this franchise. He's never really put it together. He had a 69 OPS last year and a 64 the year before that. I don't remember what were his stats from the first year. He was actually better the first year than he's ever been since then, sadly. Not a good career for Joey Ricard, despite what we kind of expected him to turn into. He never really blossomed into anything. And then he was finally having a really good year, and then he tore his meniscus, out for 5 weeks, probably until the playoffs. And Albert Almora is currently recovering from an injury. He may return from this injury. It looks like 2 more weeks, so it's going to be a close call by the end of the year. And he was having a really good season. He was a 4-win player, and he was starting to really break out offensively. Obviously, he was a 4-win player, but he was really starting to turn it on offensively. He had a pretty decent stretch of games right here, and it's nice to see that a lot of our offseason moves have worked out, but this is not a good time for everybody to get injured, although I guess it's better now than actually in the playoffs. But let's get back to the standings. Actually go to the pennant chase. I don't actually like doing that, so let's go here because you can actually see what's the leaderboards. Oh no, I don't want that. Actually, does it really make a difference? No, it just condenses it a little bit. Alright, let's do this then. Let's hopefully wrap up our first division title in franchise history. A win over Cleveland, 4-3. A series against Texas. This win could wrap it up. And the Vancouver Canadians clinch their first division of their franchise history. I was going to say playoff berth, but we did the playoffs last year. There it is. And how do we have a negative Valor or whatever? It doesn't say playoffs yet, but that's our first division title. I guess there's no... Yeah, this will just show as our first place division finish when the season is over. our first clinched division title. I don't know why our balance is negative. Doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, that's going to wrap up this division. Let's sim through the rest of the season really quickly. Another win over Texas. And I'll show you guys very quickly. You can see the standings right there. But we'll scroll down to the wild card race. And looks like we actually might have just knocked the Rangers out of the wild card race with that stretch right there. Obviously, they can still make it. But they've lost 3 in a row, including 2 straight to us. And it might have been just enough to kind of keep them. At least they're not in the driver's seat anymore. Like going into this, they were the second wild card team. And here's a quick look at the NL as well. As a very rough year for the Expos. The Expos are headed for another last place finish. It looks like. How many? They finished out of last place yet? Well, they finished in 5th place last year. That's terrible. I think the Phillies were in last place that year. They're gonna lose 100 games for the 4th straight year. No progress in Montreal, looks like. All right. I keep going back too far. All right. Let's keep going. As the Vancouver Canadians are the first AL team to clinch a playoff spot. The Dodgers clinched the playoff spot in August, I'm pretty sure. They were at 100. They had a chance to break the wins record for a while. They were at 99-40 at one point, and it was like if they made a run to end the season, they would have broken if they went on a hot stretch to end the season, they really would have made a run at that wins record. But it looks like Vancouver's not going to be touched as the top seed either. It looks like you clinched the top seed in the AL, as Tampa Bay clinches a playoff spot. My game just froze. I don't know why. Hopefully that problem doesn't happen as much in OOTP 18, which is going to be coming out very shortly here. This is actually going to be, I believe I said this at some point, but this is going to be the last episode in OOTP 17 before we switch over to OOTP 18 as we lose 8-0 to the Rays. They clinched the playoff spot during our series. Now we're going to be playing Boston and then LA to end the year, it looks like. See if we can end the season on a high note, as we've not scored a run in 2 games, so that's really not a good sign. Let's see if we can maybe score a run this time around. As the game froze again. I don't know why the game is freezing now. Like it was fine for like the hour I had this running before I started recording this sequence. And it's freezing again. I don't know what the deal is. It's still frozen. All right. Oh, okay. Okay, well we lost, so I guess maybe I didn't want it to unfreeze. And it looks like we might get swept by Boston. Boston's only a half game out of Tampa Bay, and we've now allowed 2 teams to clinch playoff spots in this game that we just played against them. But at the same time, it's like the season's almost over anyway. So I guess it really doesn't matter, these games. I guess maybe the computer's punting the games. I have no idea. We shouldn't be losing these games though. We lost 3 straight now. All right, we won 12-9. Not the greatest, but we'll be finishing the season against LA. And Dustin Ackley's contract is expiring, and some guy's retiring for some high A team that I don't care about. All right. Alright, I stopped the recording for a second. We'll see if that helps out with this freezing issue at all. I imagine it's just because it's the end of the season and it has to generate all of the player retirements and everything that the game just decides it can't handle it. Also, I'm running 4 other things right now, so it's probably not helpful either. Let me close Firefox really quick. Don't really need the internet open to play OOTP. So you have 2 internet browsers open right now too, so it's probably not much of a help. Let's see. Can we close some stuff? It's taking up memory. Nothing that I don't need. All right. Albert Almora is eligible to come off the DL. Let's plug him back into the lineup really quickly. Why is the 40 man up? Oh, I gotta set my playoff roster too. That's not what I want. Why did it not auto call up my my players? I'm just gonna do it this way because it's gonna be easier. Activate from disabled list. I'll have to remember to do the playoff roster before the next episode so that weird players don't end up on it. And everyone's cold to end the season. What is going on with this lineup? Well, Candelario's not cold, certainly. He's going to end up our best hitter for the second season in a row. Trace Thompson, Almora. Braxton Davidson ends the season cold. Ricardo Cantu. Well, he's not really cold, but he's definitely not at the point he was earlier on. A lot of these guys have actually been hot to end the year, weirdly enough. Why is this not showing? It's been doing this all season when I check the stats. It's just not showing stats for certain guys. Yeah, like Eudor Garcia, 818, is definitely below. He's probably, well, I don't know where he is in that race, but I'd still say he's probably a Rookie of the Year caliber player. But maybe not with those wins. But replacement, we'll see. Yeah, Candelario's, something happened this year with him. Like, he must have like just been an amazing defender or something, because like his stats this year aren't very much different than last year offensively. So it must be, oh yeah, he's on a Gold Glove season after 2 years of average to below average defense. Yeah, that's the difference. He's gonna be a 7-win player. Man, he's gonna want a lot of money. Not looking forward to that. All right, that wasn't even what we wanted to do. Did I activate Albert Almora? I did. And I want to put him in center, so swap him and Ackley really quick. And then we're going to plug Ackley into all the spots that we took Ackley out of to put him in right field. Ackley, a guy I'm really happy with. I hope we can re-sign him, and Youngho Kong for that matter. Kong had a very good year off the bench. In 148 plate appearances, he had a 956 OPS. And he's been a candidate to take some at-bats away from Wilmer Flores next year, because Wilmer Flores had an average season. And if he has another average season, he's definitely not... Well, he'll still be a full-time DH, but I'm going to try to reduce his role a little bit more if that happens next season. I think this is just a rough year for him, honestly. Like, like his requisite numbers are still there. Like, he was still decent at putting the ball in play. It's just all his power disappeared. He hit 39 home runs last year, and he hit 16 in almost as many plate appearances. So let's go back to the standings really quick. And hasn't been not a good September for us, but hopefully we can keep things going at least decently into the playoffs. It was 6-4 in our last 10. This is the thing is, though, this is the worst stretch that we've been on since the All-Star break at the very least. So I'm very happy about that. This is gonna be our player progression thing, and we're not gonna win 100 games this year, so that's out of the question. But hopefully we can have a good enough year next year to threaten that. And we finished the season with a sweep of the Angels, who finished with only 66 wins. And Mariners, man, they had a rough year too. 59 and 103. And wow, they were last in the league in like almost everything. So let's take a look at where we ranked in the league and all this stuff. So top team in batting average, third in on base, second in slugging, second in OPS, third runs scored, first in hits, second in extra base hits, sixth in home runs, which is a nice, like, it's nice to still be sixth in home runs when we traded away a guy who hit 40 home runs and a guy who hit like 20. Pretty sure Vince like hit 20. And I know for a fact that Schimpf hit like 35 at least to 40. Walks, we were only 15th. That's not a surprise. We don't have a lot of guys with plate discipline. Like Albert Almora is not very good plate discipline. We have some guys who have a lot of plate discipline, but a couple of our best hitters don't. So strikeouts, we were last. That's also not a surprise. We have guys like Eudor Garcia on our team. Stolen bases, we were 14th. Not a lot of guys who are very fast. Top earned run average in the leagues. Top bullpen ERA. 9th in starters ERA, which is average, but that's not a surprise considering the guys we were playing for a lot of the year. First in runs allowed. Last in hits allowed. That's a really weird contrast. Opponent's average was first. That doesn't make any sense. We allowed the fewest hits? Is that what that means? So did we have the fewest strikeouts too then? That might be what that means actually. Well, hold on, let me look at a team that I know is going to be bad. Okay, yeah. So that's last in strikeouts actually. Like first in So this is first in terms of the most strikeouts. Okay, so we have the fewest strikeouts of any team. That means I need to reevaluate that. That's Montreal, not Vancouver. But that still means we didn't walk a whole lot, though, which is... why won't it let me... Oh, because we're at the top. Or are we not at the top? No, we're right there. I just had to scroll with my mouse instead. So we're last in, like, bases on ball. Okay, that's not a surprise. 16th in strikeouts, so that means we had the fewest strikeouts. And we had like a 2-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio on offense, which is pretty good considering that's very hard to do. Alright, so we were last in hits allowed. We allowed the fewest hits. We had the 5th highest or 5th lowest BABIP, so that's pretty good. Home runs allowed was tied for 7th, that's not a surprise. Walks, we were like 4th from last, so that's pretty good. Best strikeout team in the AL, and 5th most efficient defensive team. And we had a couple of really good months in here. The first, as you can see, there's a clear distinction between when we were an average team to when we finally took off. And we had a rough August. I think that a lot of that was due to injury, but we finished the season strong in September despite having a really bad stretch at the very end. And we had a really good month of July. After those trades, we went like a stretch where we won like 11 of 13. If I actually can show you right here, team info. We'll go to the scores and schedule. So, from the last or the first game after those trades, after the All-Star break, we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We went 15-2 in this stretch, and we went 20-3. We went 20-3 from the end of the like 23 games after the All-Star break. First 23 games after the All-Star break, we went 20-3. We only lost 3 of those games. So, very, very good stretch, very hot stretch during the season. And probably, honestly, most of the responsibility for us blowing open the lead in the division. And this was still, I think, by far the worst division in baseball. 3 of the bottom 4 teams were in this division. The Astros ended up around 500, and the Rangers were in the playoff race until that last series against us that you guys saw. So, and Guillorme actually went on a 19-game hit streak to end the season. All right, let's look at pitching first. So let's make sure all this stuff is actually showing up this time. So we'll go by lowest FIP. Chapman actually finished ahead of Shreve in WAR and FIP, so Shreve had the greatest finish to the season, but he still had an amazing season. And Chapman, I might just be Chapman turned it on to end the year. So Chapman, Shreve, great combo out of the bullpen. Taijuan Walker had an amazing year. He was a 5-win pitcher almost. Went 17-8 with 224 strikeouts, 3.46 ERA, 105 WHIP, 9.7 Ks per 9, only 1.6 walks per 9. This is a guy we definitely need to get signed to an extension this offseason. Kyle Bearclaw, pretty good year out of him, 3.38 FIP, 3.33 ERA, almost exactly the same, 1.31 WHIP, and pretty good strikeout rate. Kevin Segrist had a pretty good strikeout rate as well, 3.47 FIP, 3.07 ERA, and he just continues to be solid. He's definitely probably like our weakest reliever, other than maybe Miguel Castro, but we just acquired Miguel Castro. So Lucas Giolito had a pretty good year considering the circumstances. He really turned it on this year and finally became a little bit closer to what I thought we were getting when we traded for him. Only had 7.4 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he had a 3.73 FIP and he was a 3-win pitcher. So that's nice to see. That means he was like our second best pitcher or second best starter this year. So that's nice to see. Roberto Osuna, great year out of the bullpen. FIP maybe not the greatest, but he's definitely like our, maybe not even our 3rd best reliever at this point, actually. Now I look at the stats. Evan Scribner, rough run with us, was actually really not very good. He still had the strikeouts and the walks. He just allowed a lot of hits, it looks like, and home run rate skyrocketed too, it looks like. Yeah, he doubled his home run rate in our park, which I think might be a theme. Where was he really from? New Berlin? Oh, New Britain. Okay. Yeah, so Scribner not the greatest year. Chris Archer has like the weirdest set of statistics ever. He had a 5.18 ERA in our ballpark, like maybe not in our ballpark as a Canadian, but he had a better strikeout rate, a better strikeout to walk ratio, and if you take a look here, he had a 3.48 BABIP though. It's probably actually part of it. If you take a look at his FIP, once we traded for him, his FIP was under 4, as a Vancouver, like on our team. Like, it's a very strange split to statistics, but a win and a half in a half season is pretty good, and maybe we'll look into re-signing him this offseason if it's at the right price. But he was not even our weakest starter. I would say Hisashi Iwakumo is our weakest starter. He definitely didn't play the greatest. Considering he started the season in his first 4 starts with an ERA of 2, to finish with an ERA of 5 is definitely not very good. And he's going to be the odd man out in our playoff rotation. And he might not even make our playoff roster. We'll have to see how it shakes out. Trevor Bauer wasn't very good this year. His first full year of starting, I think in general, but for us at least, he was an almost 2-win pitcher, 440 FIP, 8.3 strikeouts per 9, 3.5 walks, 3.68 ERA. We had a winning record with him on the mound, but I don't really think he was that great. He's going to be like our 4th guy in the playoffs. It's probably going to be Taijuan, Giolito, Chris Archer, and then Bauer. So if we have a sweep in the first round, Bauer won't be pitching until the ALCS. So Miguel Castro, very strange statistics as well, because he was just like weirdly great in terms of ERA for us, but he ended up like grading out as an almost like replacement level player, and his strikeout rate fell and his walk rate went up, which is strange. Like, I don't really know what happened. And his FIP like skyrocketed with us. Yeah, his FIP went from 342 to 5.46, went up by 2. So I have no idea. Hopefully he can be better next year for us, because we'll be paying him quite a bit of money. I imagine it'll be his first year of arbitration eligibility. He'll probably make like $4 million. I hope he can be better than that, because that's definitely not good, but we'll see. We didn't give up very much for him, so I'm not really expecting a whole lot anyway. But yeah, great year out of our pitching staff, though. Miguel Castro's the only one I'm kind of disappointed in, and even then, he was still like okay. Like, he wasn't the worst. Well, Hisashi Iwakumo wasn't very good either, but he's not going to be coming back next year anyway. So moving on to offense, and we'll sort this by OPS plus. Jungo Kong had our highest OPS plus, but he was a part-time player, and I wasn't gonna give him like, all our injuries this year happened in the outfield, so there wasn't ever an opportunity to really give him more playing time. Candelario, as I discussed earlier, turned from a really good player into an MVP, all-star, superstar level of player this year, and was insane defensively. He had a great offensive year, obviously, but he's had great offensive years in the past. He's been building to this, though, at this point. He had a really good year last year, 29 home runs, 95 RBI, and 278, 351, 510 slash line. This year he improved all around at 291, 352, 524 slash line, 142 OPS plus, 7.4 wins above replacement. And like I said, like I showed you earlier, he went from this year from being an average to above average fielder, or below average fielder actually, to being a superstar defensive player. He had a +7 or +11 zone rating this year. Like, that's insane, and he still committed the same amount of errors, actually, it looks like. And his range factor stayed the same, but his zone rating was much better this year, so that probably contributed quite a bit to the increase in wins above replacement. He had 3 more wins this year than he did last year, and that was like pretty much all on defense, I imagine. So he is a really good player, and hopefully we can keep him around. Trace Thompson was, I think, the steal of the offseason. That was a great trade for us, I think. We didn't really give up very much, and he actually played better in 500 plate appearances than he did in 200 last year. And last year he was like an MVP level hitter in those plate appearances. Maybe not an MVP level, an all-star level hitter in those plate appearances. This year he was a 5-win player, and he's probably on his way to a Gold Glove and a Silver Slugger potentially. He had an 865 OPS, 5-win player, and we'll take a look at his fielding stats. He was a +8 in right field, so that's very nice to see. And he was a +3 in center field. We had to play him in center field when Albert Almora went down for a little bit because he was better than anybody we had in the system to replace Albert Almora in center field. So great year out of Trace Thompson and a great acquisition. Eudor Garcia, 817 OPS, potentially headed for Rookie of the Year award, 22 home runs, 84 RBI. Ricardo Cantu, up and down year, but finished out really well as a great leadoff guy. 277, 354, 443 slash line, 797 OPS. Not as good as he was last year. Difference of about 3 wins, but I imagine he just wasn't as good defensively. And he didn't slug quite as much. He was down all around in his slash line. He had half as many home runs. He obviously didn't have as many plate appearances, but if you take a look, yeah, he played a lot of right field for some reason. He was a plus defender this year, but like he was a Gold Glove caliber defender last year, so that makes sense for the difference. But a guy like this on an $11 million contract for the next 5 years, if he can fight regression in a valid way, like if he can keep up these above average numbers and be worth 3 to 4 wins, like $11 million is a bargain. Because you're paying like usually on average like $8 million for a win. So, did we talk about Almora? We didn't talk about Braxton Davidson. Cooled off to end the year, only a 789 OPS, but he had a 369 OBP, and he hit 19 home runs with 68 RBI too. So great year out of him. Albert Almora, not a great on base guy, but he really turned it on in the second half of the year. 300, 325, 461. Slash line to end the year, 786 OPS. He was worth 4 wins as well. He was a really good defensive player. Braxton Davidson was not. There's no point in even showing you his ratings. But Albert Almora, 3.35 range factor, plus 12. So good center fielder. Hopefully he can develop a little bit more. Carson Kelly finished with a pretty decent slash line for us. He actually improved upon the totals that he put up in St. Louis and more of that. This is another guy like Trace Thompson. When we acquired him, we would have been happy with the production that he'd shown in a small sample, but he actually improved upon it in a larger sample. And he's a catcher who's going to get on base. And if you're a catcher who's going to get on base almost 35% of the time, you're valuable, even if you're not slugging for very much. And we'll take a look at his fielding stats, too. He was a great catcher in terms of ERA, catcher ERA, and he actually caught quite a few runners stealing. Not as many as you'd like, but actually, it was a little bit below average overall, but maybe he can turn that around. He had a pretty good year in St. Louis last year. Might be part of it, might be our ballpark too, because I think we have more of a hitter's park. I might remember to show that one day, but now is not the video to do that in. Ackley was a part-time player. Wilmer Flores, definitely not the year I wanted out of him, and he performed this year a lot like he did in the first year. If you take a look at that, where he was average. Actually, he was even better that year. But he had similar. I don't know. This was just a bad year for Flores, and I don't really know what it was. Like, he was a really good player for the last 3 years. He was a 4-win player last year. Even before then, he was a 2-win player, roughly, both of those seasons. This is really like on the level that he was with the Mets before we acquired him, and I don't really know how to take that going forward. It's going to be interesting. See if he can live up to the contract extension we gave him. Hopefully he can bounce back next year, but he's going to be 29, and he gets a spike in his contract as well. So that'll be a situation to monitor going forward. Hopefully he can turn things around. I really liked his performance last year, and he's still going to be a guy that we try to rely on in that 6th spot, ahead of Albert Almora and ahead of Carson Kelly, both who were better hitters than him this year. And our last hitter to talk about is Luis Guillorme. Put up 2.5 wins despite only having a 76 OPS plus, which would usually appear really bad, but just take a look at his fielding stats. He's an amazing defensive player. Plus 10 zone rating, which isn't really spectacular, I wouldn't say, but he's a better defensive shortstop than anybody that we've had in the past at all. And, he gets on base 31% of the time. That's not bad. I will take that out of our worst offensive player. Still getting an OBP of 314 is pretty good. He actually had a higher OBP than slugging percentage. He's not going to hit for any power at all, but he did hit 3 home runs and drove in 46 this year. And Rene Rivera was a part-time player. Was a starter for the first half of the year, but then we acquired Carson Kelly, and he really didn't play for the rest of the year. I should take a look at the last few times he played. He played a decent amount, actually. Played a little bit more toward the end of the year, it looks like. But not as good as he was last year. Last year he was a pretty good player. But this is probably the last hurrah for Rene Rivera. He got that 2-year contract extension after we actually think we drafted him in the expansion. Yeah, we drafted him in the expansion draft. I don't remember what was his contract. We acquired him from the. I don't remember what this contract. What was the contract situation? 1 year. So we signed him to a 1-year extension. He must have been ARB eligible after we stole him from the Rays, and then we signed him to a 2-year extension after that. Okay, got it. I was wondering what the deal was there. All right, well, I got off on a tangent with that. All right, so let's preview the playoffs really quick. And did it not go to? I gotta set my playoff roster too. And does it look like we're playing? Oh, it's okay. It's simming still. I thought it simulated already. And there we go. All right, so let's get all our achievements done. Most pitching wins. Oh, so Trevor Bauer led the league. We should actually see. Let's look really quick at where some of our players ranked in these statistics. Oh, there it is. We can go to the playoff coverage. All right, sweet. Hits. Well, Wilmer Flores finished 3rd in hits still. Candelario was 5th in total bases and 3rd in runs scored. Man, that might be an MVP caliber year. Not really, because Mike Trout exists, but actually Candelario might be pretty high in the WAR totals. Let's see. I want to see. Well, let's just look at American League. 5th in the American League was 7.4. 7.4 would have been just behind. I don't really know if there's a way to. What was it, sortable stats? Would that work? No, I don't think so. Oh, there we go. All right, Mike Trout. Candelario finished 6th in WAR. All right, not bad. Let's go back to batting leaders. I actually go to pitching leaders because I already saw where guys were. So Taijuan Walker was 5th in strikeouts. Trevor Bauer was 4th in opponent's average. And Taijuan Walker was 3rd in strikeouts to walks. Phil Hughes was 1st with 12. That's ridiculous. Taijuan Walker was 5th in strikeouts per 9 as well. That's not a surprise. Oh, yeah. Phil Hughes also, he walked half of a batter every 9 innings. That's crazy control. So Bauer led the AL, but not the entire league. Looks like Shreve was tied for the AL lead, or did he have the AL lead? It looks like he had the AL lead, actually, in saves. Yeah, he had the AL lead in saves. Addison Reed was 2nd. And in the AL, we should actually look at AL for these pitcher stats. Taijuan Walker was 5th in ERA. So Taijuan Walker actually tied Trevor Bauer in terms of wins, which I didn't see, or which I didn't notice earlier, at least. Trevor Bauer was 2nd in hits per 9 innings. He must have just walked a lot of guys. I don't even know if that should count at that point. Chris Archer was 2nd in home runs per 9. Walks per 9. Walker and Giolito. Nice to see Giolito up there. Strikeouts. Walker was 2nd to Strasburg. That's not even that far away. Strasburg's probably winning the Cy Young. It looks like. Yeah, you have better stats than Taijuan Walker all around. But Taijuan Walker might finish 2nd in the Cy Young voting. Well, he might finish 3rd, actually. Carlos Rodon had a really good year. Alright. That's going to do it for that, though. Let's go to the playoff coverage screen. So, wild card is going to be Orioles versus Red Sox and Nats versus Rockies. And then the ALDS is going to be, let's look at the playoff tree instead of that. Looks like, so we're going to be playing, we got the top seed, we're going to be playing the Orioles or the Red Sox. Twins will be playing the Rays. Dodgers will be playing the Nats or the Rockies. And the Mets will be playing the Cubs. So it's a pretty good set of playoff series. Alright, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And we'll see you next time for more OOTP, where we will be playing in the next OOTP game, OOTP 18, Vancouver Canadians expansion franchise. And we'll be getting into the playoffs for the first time, cracking ourselves into that game. Alright, thanks for watching, everyone. See you next time.